20 million years ago, the Megalodon was king of the oceans, the largest shark that ever lived. It ate other mega sharks for breakfast. But as an ice age engulfed the world, this enormous sea giant's time came to an end. What if through a miraculous twist of fate, the Megalodon had managed to survive? This is what if, and here's what would happen. A Megalodon living in the 21st century, one that had never stopped evolving, would be a truly frightening and majestic creature. Today's Meg would likely have expanded to the size of a blue whale, about 30 m, 100 feet long, and a hefty 200 tons, for 141,000 pounds in weight. That's as heavy as about 33 elephants with a beating heart as big as a car. Today's Megalodon would need to eat 3,600 kilograms, 8,800 pounds of food a day, and would be the largest animal that's ever existed. It would also be equipped with some new survival traits, ones that have helped it last these 3 million years. What do you think those traits would be? Well, before we get into the making of Meg 2.0, let's look at what the Megalodon was like in its heyday. Let's go back 23 million years ago during the Maya and Pliocene epochs. The Megalodon was roaming about conquering the oceans. It spanned about 18 m 60 feet long. That's 3 times longer than the biggest great white shark we've ever encountered. Since it was so massive, obviously it weighed a lot, as much as a space shuttle. About 30 to 65 metric tons, 66,000 to 143,000 pounds. It was equipped with enormous teeth the size of a human hand. In fact, the word Megalodon, when translated from its origin in ancient Greek, means big tooth. Serrated on one side, these teeth were perfect for sinking into large meaty fish and tearing them apart. Throughout its life, the Meg, like other sharks, would shed and grow new teeth, possibly growing up to 40,000 teeth over its lifetime. Those teeth chewed through a lot of food, about 1,100 kilograms, 2,500 pounds every single day. That's the equivalent of 2 cows or 10,000 quarter-pounders every single day. But those were off the menu in this era. What was around were baleen whales. These were a key part of Meg's diet, and the Meg was also a cannibal if it got a chance. It would happily feast on another Meg if it could. This giant shark was also a ruthless killer. It had a pretty straightforward but effective strategy to finish off its victims. It would slide into the water beneath its prey so it couldn't be seen. Then it would shoot up vertically to slam into the animal at high speed. Imagine being pummeled with 65 tons, 143,000 pounds of pure Meg. The prey, usually large whales, didn't stand a chance against this high-pressure assault. While they were recovering from this full body blow, the Meg would sink its teeth into the whale, usually in the rib cage area. After that kind of injury, the fight was over. Then the Meg could settle into a nice meal. As a victim of the Meg, you could also get swallowed up whole. Yeah, with a skull 4.5 m, 15 feet long, it could comfortably take in something as large as a whole family car. So, watch out for this terrifying creature when it comes into the modern day. And of course, the Meg had mega babies. Baby Megs were 3 to 4 meters, 10 to 13 feet long. So, good luck coming out alive if you run into one of those. The Megalodon really came into its own during the Mayan epoch from 23 to 5 million years ago. At the start of the period, the Earth was warm, but then later began to cool. During this time, the Meg preferred hanging out in warm tropical waters. In fact, it roamed in multiple places across the globe. Meg teeth as old as 3 million years have been found in waters everywhere except Antarctica. As long as there was enough food to feast on in the water, the Meg was happy. So with a creature this deadly and powerful conquering the seas, how did it manage to go extinct? Oh, maybe it was climate change. During the Mayan period, a cooling trend had begun. This carried all the way into the Pliocene and gave way to a big freeze. During the era after that, 2.66 million years ago, an ice age began. According to one theory, these freezing temperatures from the ice age may not have been suitable for Meg, and they could have led to its extinction, but other scientists disagree. Studying the Meg found that temperature fluctuations seen in earlier periods didn't impact the shark. It managed to survive. The Meg was able to survive changes in temperature because it was partially warm-blooded. It had an adaptation, so it could warm its blood using heat from its muscles as it moved. This allowed it to maintain a body temperature 7 degrees Celsius, 13 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the surrounding water. So, while it preferred warmer weather, it could survive in cooler temperatures as well. So, what was different about the Plian Ice Age? Well, for one, this ice age was a lot colder than before. The Meg and other creatures that had evolved in the last tens of millions of years had never experienced such a deep freeze. The Plian Ice Age 2.66 million years ago was the most severe temperature drop that Earth had faced in the last 500 million years. As the ice crept over the Earth, there was a severe decrease in habitat for both land and sea creatures. Sea levels dropped 200 m, 650 feet, and coastal land areas dried up. As water turned to ice and sea levels dropped, the baleen whale, the Meg's main prey, was fighting to survive. And it wasn't just the cold. Changes in ocean currents reduced the flow of nutrients in parts of the ocean, areas that were prime feeding grounds for the baleen whale. This affected its population. And there was another problem. Ben whales give birth in warmer waters, but then migrate to colder waters to feed. With a rapid reduction in warmer waters, their breeding grounds would have also been disrupted. Another pressure leading to extinction. With baleen whales going extinct, the Meg had to focus on smaller prey like dolphins and seals. But this would have been a problem because the Meg was facing competition for prey from a smaller and more agile competitor, the great white shark. 1/3 the size of the Meg, the great white shark was nimbler, needed less to eat, and was competing for the Meg's food, both baleen whales and the quicker dolphins and seals. And in the battle for fast-moving, smaller prey, great whites were the winners. The Meg's breeding grounds would also have been disrupted. Its babies lived in nurseries and shallow waters. As sea levels oscillate up and down, these shallow waters would have risen and then receded unpredictably. They would no longer have provided a safe spot for baby messes to survive. And at the same time, the Meg's massive feeding requirements for energy and to maintain its high internal body temperature were not getting any smaller. So that's what led to the Meg's extinction. Too big to maintain, too much competition, and too little to eat. It feels a little wild that this apex predator essentially starved to death. But could we rewrite history? Could the Megalodon somehow survive into the modern day? Well, let's take a look at a scenario where the Meg was able to evolve to get bigger and more powerful than ever before. In order for the Megalodon to survive, maybe we should see what would happen if we avoided the Ice Age altogether. Ice ages are triggered by several things. One key factor is how far away the Earth is from the Sun, because this impacts the amount of heat Earth receives. Then there are shifts in plate tectonics, affecting the movement of land masses and the flow of ocean currents on Earth. So what if this ice age never happened? Well, massive volcanic eruptions could have warmed Earth. This happens if they throw large amounts of greenhouse gases, like water vapor and carbon dioxide, into the atmosphere. So, how about the kind of volcanic action that led to a massive heat spike 56 million years ago? At that time, Earth suddenly got super hot. Massive amount of carbon dioxide entered the atmosphere, raising the temperature by up to 8 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit. The seas also became incredibly warm. In the tropics, it was like a warm bathtub with temperatures around 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe this could have offset the coming ice age. But on Class, the other hand, this heat spike also caused a bunch of creatures to go extinct. So it's not clear if this would have been a sure way to save the Megalodon. So we're going to have to look for another miracle to save the Meg. Could the Meg have survived the ice age some other way? After all, many other species did. Great white sharks made it through, and so did gray whales. So are there traits that the Meg could have borrowed to make it through this time? The Meg found it difficult to compete with great white sharks for food because the Meg was 3 times larger. The Meg metabolic requirements would have been significantly higher to maintain that body weight. At the same time, it would have made them less nimble than the great white shark. One solution, the Meg needed to adapt with the times. Shrink a little. Maybe the Meg could have borrowed a trait from the skate. This is another fish made of cartilage, just like the Megalodon. Winter skate living in Canada have shrunk their body size 45% in response to water temperatures going up 10 degrees Celsius, 18 degrees Fahrenheit. And this didn't take them millions of years. They did this over a period of 7,000 years. This was a response to environmental changes, not a result of gradual natural selection. And the knowledge to do this can be preserved in sharks' genomes. Some sharks have